welcome to the Interop Testing call, the last one before Pectra, and I think from next week we'll be using the official ACDT moniker. Let's start off with the Pectra updates. So from the Panda Ops team, so all the client teams have made their releases, and the blog posts have been updated to indicate that there were two bug fix releases or three bug fix releases over the last week. We've already run the bug fix releases through Asserter, and all of our boot nodes, testnet nodes, validators, everything has been updated with the latest client releases as of now. Nothing was immediately noticed. We're still going to continue looking at the logs, making sure that everything is fine. There was one thing that Barnabas pointed out with the Flashbots MEV boost node. There's a timeout that's being returned over there. This is on mainnet, but it's likely just Flashbots needing to scale up their infrastructure. We've already pinged them about this and haven't heard back. But it doesn't seem to be a bug in MEV Boost or anywhere else. And it also works fine with the other release. Do we have an update with Pectra testing from the EELS team or East?
So we've been checking the Hive. There's a couple of Hive tests not passing, but these all seem like nice to have passing because they are based on scenarios that are not technically possible. So we're gonna prepare. We have a document that Spencer prepared, and we're gonna share that with the teams just to double check with them that they are okay with these errors, and then we can go ahead. But they seem to be just either test issues or uh, scenarios that are not possible to happen. So yeah, we're gonna reach out to each client team to discuss for discussion. Yep. Apart from that, there's not that much else to discuss from our side.
Awesome. And you also did a manual review, right, Mario? Do you just want to briefly mention that too?
The manual review, which part? Oh, yes, yes, sorry. So yeah, it's basically we went over. I can share the link, but I don't have it at hand. I am gonna share it a little bit later. So basically, I did a manual review of all the client teams. I went over the repositories and manually checked the contract addresses in each one. This is a very superficial check because even if you do this, there's still a possibility that the values that I checked are not used. But it's just a way for us to sanity check that everyone hard-coded the correct addresses, hard-coded the correct timestamp for the fork and epoch. So I'm gonna share the link. I'll do it in a bit. Yeah, but yeah, everything seemed fine from this review.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think anything that we had, the Panda Ops team had noticed over the last week also is, yeah, I think anything we had opened up as a discussion point with client team has also been completely resolved. So we should be good. We did have a mainnet shadow fork last week as well. And the mainnet shadow fork, we investigated the Prism deposit tree topic. There was some sync issues on Aragon that were completely fixed slash fixed by adding some flags on our side. And then there was a geth override Prague minor bug that wasn't the flag wasn't being respected, and that's also been fixed. However, we weren't able to conclude the deposit testing purely because of a weirdness with how the tree was built and what was valid on the shadow fork and what wasn't. But we did test some other Pectra related features, and that went well on the shadow fork as well. The client teams all had a look, and then we decided that there was nothing else to really gain from the shadow fork, so we tore it down around Wednesday last week. Yeah. And besides that, anything else from Pectra that people want to bring up? Anything we should still look out for this week or test before mainnet? Okay. And I do want to mention that the Gnosis chain guys went through Petra last week, and it seems to be successful. We're in touch with the testing team. They ran through a couple of their own tests, and they're also happy with the outcome. They didn't notice anything weird, which is great news. They did have a minor blip in participation rate, but I think that was just people who hadn't updated, and the participation rate is basically back to what it was before Petra, and that tends to happen with forks very often. Um, okay. Anything else on Petra testing?
I think just a manual mention of the latest East release would be nice. So let me share the link. Basically, this is the first release that we make that contains all the Ethereum tests, um, Ethereum tests, original tests into an East release. And basically, the plan is for us to migrate everything from Ethereum tests into execution spec tests. And ideally, all of the new releases from now on will contain what was originally found in Ethereum tests. Um, and yeah, just a heads up that probably this is gonna affect the CI from all the client teams, because if you point right now to Ethereum tests, you're gonna have to update to point to the East releases, and from there it will be the single point of consumption for all the tests that you ever need. It's still a work in progress, and but just a heads up for now, we're gonna repeat this once we complete this process of migration in the future. But yeah, nothing, no action points at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, Camille gave us an update on the Gnosis drop in participation. Thank you for that. Yeah. Anything else that we should be testing in the last days? Thank you. Yeah, there seems to be some update to 7702, but yeah, okay, this is a wording update. Perfect. Mario, could you guys maybe add a East test to for this case as well, please?
Which it's same. It seems from the reading, the first reading, it seems like we should already have something. But yeah, we're gonna check.
Okay. Then moving on to the next topic, communication channels for Petra. So I'm not sure if everyone has already seen this, but the PM repo has a Petra mainnet plan document that outlines what is to happen in case there are any incidents and so on, and where we'll be communicating. So the primary communication channel will be a Petra upgrade channel that will be created some point roughly tomorrow. So definitely before the fork. And the idea is that this channel gets archived after the fork is done. The status updates will be on the ETH R&D Discord announcements channel. If you notice Spectra upgrade related discussions happening somewhere else or Telegram groups, please try to move the discussions back into the ETH R&D Discord so that there's one canonical place where we can keep up to date with everything that's going on. Same for discussions themselves. Try to keep them in threads so that it's easier to follow what's going on in the channel itself. There is a primary and backup person for every client team who would be involved in the fork. And we have a bunch of East tests that we plan on running on mainnet, as well as a few topics that we will be looking out for before we declare that the fork is successful or not. We do have a checklist on the Panda Ops blog. So in case someone's just intrigued and wants to poke around yourselves, then there's a description on what would be interesting to look at. Yeah. And is there anything not mentioned in this list or something particular that client teams want us to check first or ASAP? If not, I think we'd be basically looking at blocks, attestations, arrival times, finality, and then running through some tests of all the Petra features, and then that would be mostly it. Then we go into monitoring mode if there's some anomalies. Okay. In case your name is primary, your name is listed under primary or backup, please try to be available and monitoring the ETH R&D Discord channel at the time of the upgrade. I think there are quite a few watch parties and live streaming on as well. So it would be nice if you are primary or backup, if you at least have the Discord channel on the side panel so you know what's going on in case someone needs you. Okay. Anything else for communication on Petra? Yeah, Lucas.
For the monitoring people, I think we should have a scheduled like meeting that we could send invite to, and that people who are free could be like observing there, and people and especially if there's something happening, we can already have a place to join instead of like, oh, now look into the Discord, where's the link, etc., etc.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we can set one up and share it beforehand. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. Okay, anything else on Petra itself? Great. Let's move on to PRDAS then. Barnabas, do you want to give us an update on PRDAS?
Yeah, last week we discussed that we're going to be launching the 7 sometime this week once we have enough client teams ready to go. So the specific change that is required is the step by route, and none of the ELs would need to update for that, only the CLs. So far we have two theoretically working CLs, the Nimbus and Gremlin. Yes, yeah.
Can I talk to you a little bit? I'm sorry.
Tim. Yeah, and so we are waiting for other field teams to finish their implementation, and then we can possibly roll out Freedoes DevNet 7 maybe even tomorrow or maybe on Wednesday.
Sounds good. And this means we would no longer be using the DevNet 6 spec at all, or is the idea that the DevNet 6 one will continue for sync testing and DevNet 7 is for everything else?
Or DevNet 6 is shut down, so
Yeah,
we
but
will
we
just use
have
DevNet
a
7.
DevNet 6 spec running on the Sunnyside Labs network, right?
Right. So I think the Inside Lab network would just slowly die off eventually because we want to migrate everything to DevNet 7.
Okay.
And there's also going to be a new spec release made 1.5.0 right after mainnet fork. We should possibly target that for DevNet.
Yep, sounds good. Then it would be great if client teams can have a look at getting their images up ASAP. Are there any open PRs worth discussing right now, or would that happen tomorrow at the PRDAS testing call?
I don't think so, other than possibly discussing BPO implementation and
Okay.
ask client teams how they're doing with that and whether they have looked into it.
Okay, perfect. And I guess we can discuss it on the PRDAS testing call as well, but once Petra is on mainnet, we would predominantly be using this call to be discussing PRDAS. So it might be unnecessary to have another PRDAS testing call tomorrow. But I guess we can discuss that also on the call tomorrow and decide to cancel it for the next week or like merge it in basically.
So there will be no more peer calls.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, because that's the main fork to be tested after Petra shipped. Okay. Anything else on PeerDAS? Okay. I think the only other active work stream right now is gas limit testing. I know that earlier the blocker was this OOM bug with 60 million gas, but Jared from Get has posted that it's no longer a blocker, so we can move ahead with increasing the gas limits on testnets. So we just proposed that we would wait until Petra shipped on mainnet and everyone's feeling like they're on dry land again. And I would suggest next week on the call we discuss which testnet to bump the gas limit for. I would assume Sepolia would be the first one. And then once we roll that out, check how stuff goes, we can move on. Okay. And yeah, is there anyone from the history expiry side of things to give an update? Because I think we're past the May 1st deadline.
are there any EAs that have like a specific flag where we can like start playing around? Like I want to drop history till block XYZ or till fork whatever.
Yeah, I think last time we looked, we were lacking a lot of documentation on what needs to happen. So does any client support history expiry right now? And if so, could you point us to some documentation so we can test it?
We would like to set up some long-running syncing tests where ideally we wouldn't want to sync history. So it would be good if we would have some flags.
Okay, I guess we can ask in the history expiry channel what the status update is, but it sounds like no one has shipped it yet. Okay, yeah, Camille and Ben.
I mean, in Nethermind, we have a support for dropping the history and preserving it via ERA files. So our validators are capable of dropping the history anytime.
Could you, sorry, could you point us to some documentation on this, please?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, I
I,
did.
I think it's only on a sync there. Is that correct? Kevin?
Again, please.
It's only on a fresh sync, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, the freshly synced nodes will already not have the pre-merge data on Sepolia.
Okay, that's good to know. But I think last time when we looked at the release notes, we didn't find this, but yeah, we can have a look again.
Yeah, it was included. I will point it out to you.
Okay.
Would it
Yeah.
also be possible to drop arbitrary block heights?
Yeah, you can set it higher. So if by any reason you want to drop less or more on initial sync, you can set it up directly by a flag with a block number.
And this is only done during initial sync.
On initial sync, yeah.
So I think we have live pruning, but in PR, it's not finalized yet.
Like
Ye-
dropping on the existing nodes is, yeah, as Luka stated, in progress. But if you want to drop your history, you need to resync for now.
Yeah, I would definitely look at updating some release notes on this because I just looked through, like, searched for history on all of the releases, and the last mention is, I think, 1.31. And it does mention history as like ERA 1 import export, but there's no real, like, there's no context given. And I think that was the feedback we got from node operators as well. Like, everyone would like to drop history. we communicated that there was a deadline of May 1st, and then the May 1st deadline has passed, and no one knows how to drop history or like how to recover or what is happening. Like the comms on the topic seems a bit lacking.
Okay, yeah, you're right. We mentioned that it is enabled by default, but we didn't state it in release notes how to do that directly. I will fix that. It is
And
the latest Nethermind release.
yeah, and I think you guys have a Nethermind docs page as well, right? So you could have a page there about history expiry as a topic.
Yeah, we can separate that to make a clear distinction for how to drop that. But yeah, we have these parameters described in the CLI information, but it's not that easy to find out. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And any other clients who have an update on history drop? Okay. Roman says Ret is still work in progress. Last I remember, Geth was also still work in progress. I'm not sure about Aragon and Bezu though.
Yeah, for Bessel, we are also working on it. I'm just not sure about our current status, but I think we can import the error files and drop some history. But I need to check up with the other devs that are working on it.
Yeah, that's in testing right now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think we'd also like to do an EF blog post at some point about history expiry, but I think we would first wait for all the clients to have the releases in and documentation so that we can point people to. And it would be very client specific anyway, because I think some clients, like every client has a different way of how they expect to fetch history after it's dropped. So cool. I guess the discussions are happening on the history expiry channel on ETH-R&D. Okay. Anything else to discuss today? Any topic people want to bring up?
Should we come up with a new deadline for history expiry?
The last one that was communicated was that we wanted to drop history on Sepolia for 1st of May. I don't know what the new plan is, but I guess we should discuss that on the history expiry channel.
I mean,
until
we would need
history.
some flags. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like we would be happy to have, but if we have no flags or no documentation from any clients, then it's very hard for us to test anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if other clients are in this boat, but I think with Petra coming, people are a little apprehensive to put many more changes the last few weeks on master. Otherwise, if there's any kind of issue, we don't want to be pushing a bunch of stuff that is not as rigorously tested to all of the nodes. So I'm guessing after Petra, pretty quickly, people will start merging stuff again.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess we should first discuss a plan on the history expiry channel. I'm guessing most of the people involved in history expiry are not on this call. But yeah, we should at least have a plan as to when people are dropping history, when docs are out, and so on. Because otherwise, it's just incomprehensible for any node operator to know what's going on. Yeah, Roman?
Should we also make sure to invite Piper to these calls? Because he seemed to be the champion for coordinating his expiry, at least until this gets shipped.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think then, yeah, once Spectra is done, like Client said, people will have a bit more bandwidth. I guess we would shift focus to PRDAS, gas limit testing, and history expiry. So it would make sense to have Piper there as well.
As far as I know, Piper is the champion of 4/4s and not specifically for history expire. History expiring its own could be just removed, and then yeah, especially for pre-merge data. Yeah, still makes sense to have Piper here.
And I think, I mean, more importantly, the point of history expiry is to deliver benefit to stakers and users, and it feels like right now we're not delivering that. So we should figure out our shit. Anything else that we should discuss today? Okay, then see you guys on the other side of Petra. Bye.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.